17 seconds. That's the blink and you miss it reality of a modern dogfight. A high-stakes dance in the sky where victory often hinges on a pilot's training. Back in February 2019, after the intense aerial exchanges following the Balakot strike and its counterstrike, Pakistan's Air Force, the PF, showed the world it could definitely punch above its weight class. But those crucial engagements also highlighted a stark, undeniable truth. There was a significant bottleneck in their pilot training pipeline. Imagine this. The system designed to transform eager young aviators into hardened, deadly fighter pilots was still largely relying on 1980s-era T-37s and the relatively basic K-8s. It's like trying to prepare for a Formula One race using a vintage sedan. Now, picture this entering the scene. A sleek, brand-new Chinese airframe. This isn't just any trainer. It's a machine capable of shattering the sound barrier, pulling a bone-jarring 9Gs, and still returning to base with enough fuel and hardpoints to deliver precision bombs on its way home. Islamabad hasn't officially confirmed it yet, but whispers are turning into a roar across defense circles. The L15 Falcon is reportedly on the verge of joining the Pakistan Air Force. If this deal goes through, the region's delicate balance of power won't just tilt a little, it could wobble dramatically. So today, we're going to unpack what the L15 truly brings to the table, how it could perfectly plug a gaping hole in Pakistan's order of battle, and why major players like New Delhi, Washington, and Beijing are all watching this rumored deal with hawk-like intensity. Get ready, because this is going to be quite a ride. The training trap. Right now, the PAF's jet conversion syllabus is a bit of a jagged pathway. It typically runs from the K-8 to the FT-5, and then directly into either the F-7 or the JF-17. Can you imagine that jump? It's like going from a gentle, propeller-driven basic trainer, a relatively forgiving aircraft, straight into a Mach 2 fighter jet, a beast of speed and complexity. This isn't just challenging, it's brutal. The sheer difference in performance, avionics, and flight characteristics means that student pilots often struggle immensely. This steep learning curve leads to a high washout rate, which is incredibly costly in terms of both time and resources. What's more, the advanced stages of this training often demand that frontline F-7s and JF-17s are pulled from operational squadrons to serve as trainers. This isn't just inefficient. It means valuable combat aircraft, designed for active duty, are racking up fatigue hours in the training role, and it ties up experienced instructors, further straining the operational readiness of the fleet. The net result of this outdated pipeline? A significant bottleneck that limits Pakistan to roughly 120 combat-coded fast-jet pilots at any given time. Think about that number. It's a critical constraint for any air force needing to maintain a credible deterrent. Now let's look across the border. India, with its larger defense budgets and a more modern training fleet, including the Hawk Mk132 advanced jet trainers, pipelines almost twice that number of pilots. While quantity certainly has a quality all its own, in air combat, superior quality forged by world-class training often wins wars. This is precisely the problem the L-15 is purpose-built to solve. It's a supersonic lead-in fighter trainer, LIFT, whose flight envelope, meaning its performance and handling characteristics, deliberately mimics that of a fourth-generation fighter. This allows pilots to transition smoothly and safely, mastering advanced maneuvers and complex systems before ever stepping into a frontline jet. And here's the kicker. It reportedly costs under US $12 million a copy. That's remarkably cost-effective, especially when you consider that a single engine swap on an F-16 can run you a comparable amount. This isn't just about training. It's about smart economics in a tight budget environment. Meet the Falcon. Let's really get to know this aircraft, the Hongdu L-15 Falcon. It first rolled out in 2006, not as a government mandate, but as a private venture by Hongdu Aviation, to replace China's own aging JJ-7 trainers. So it wasn't designed to be a relic. It was engineered from the ground up to be a thoroughly modern, high-performance machine. We're talking about a fly-by-wire system, which means computer controls interpret the pilot's inputs, offering enhanced stability and maneuverability. It boasts a full-glass cockpit, replacing traditional analog dials with vibrant multifunction displays, MFDs, that give pilots a comprehensive, easily digestible view of all flight and mission data. And of course, hands-on throttle and stick HOTAS controls, allowing pilots to manage critical systems without ever taking their hands off the primary controls. This is a hot rod, engineered for the digital age. Powering this agile machine are two Ukrainian AI 222K25F afterburning turbofans. These engines are robust, each producing a significant 4,200 kilos of thrust with afterburner, pushing the L15 past Mach 1.4. That's fast enough to simulate the speeds of most modern combat aircraft. With 9 hardpoints, mounting points for external stores, it can carry up to 3,000 to 3,500 kilo of payload. That's enough versatility for a variety of missions. Want air-to-air capability? You can load it up with 2 PL5I heaters, short-range infrared-guided missiles, on the wingtips. Need to precisely hit ground targets? Add a centerline targeting pod and twin 500 lb laser-guided bombs. But the Falcon's capabilities don't stop there. Want serious air-to-surface punch? It can carry advanced missiles like the CM802 AKG, which boasts an impressive 180-kilometer range, turning this trainer into a formidable light attack platform. And for counterinsurgency operations, where loitering time and flexible firepower are key, you can strap on a 23mm cannon pod and 4 7-shot rocket pods. The beauty of the L15 is its adaptability. It's a twin-seater, and the rear cockpit isn't just for an instructor. It's fully wired to also function as a weapons operator station. This means the very same airframe can be used to teach advanced combat maneuvers on a Monday, and then fly critical close air support missions on a Tuesday. That's operational flexibility you don't often see. And from a logistics standpoint, it's a smart choice for Pakistan. China already builds the JF-17 Block 3, an aircraft Pakistan operates using a similar avionics language and integrated systems. This commonality means Pakistani ground crews won't need an entirely new spares catalog or a complete overhaul of their maintenance protocols, simplifying integration and reducing long-term costs. Why now? Let's take a look at the bigger picture, the calendar of Pakistan's air power modernization. The first batch of Pakistan's J-10Cs, their new 4.5 generation fighters, is already operational. More are reportedly on the way, and the JF-17 Block 3, an advanced variant of their workhorse fighter, is rolling off the camera production line every quarter. These modern fighters aren't just pretty faces. They carry cutting-edge weaponry like the PL-15E missiles, which boast a formidable 145-kilometer reach. That's a peer-level lethality, giving Pakistan a serious beyond visual range, BVR, capability against regional adversaries. But here's the rub. What's the point of having advanced missiles and sophisticated aircraft if you don't have enough pilots who can fully exploit their capabilities? Pilots who can truly master that reach, who can effectively employ sensor fusion, and who are intimately familiar with the nuances of a modern digital cockpit are, quite simply, scarce. The PAF desperately needs a fast jet trainer that can pull high angles of attack, essential for close-in combat, rehearse those crucial beyond visual range shots, and still survive and operate effectively in a contested border environment. The L15, with its advanced design and performance, does all three. Price, of course, plays a massive role too. Islamabad's defense budget for the 2025-26 fiscal year, while seeing a 20% increase in rupee terms, is still battling against significant inflation, which was forecast at 7.5%. Every rupee has to count. Consider this. One brand new J-10CE fighter cost roughly the equivalent of 5 L-15s. If the mission is to create more Top Gun aviators per rupee spent, the math is brutally simple and overwhelmingly favors the L-15. It's a strategic investment that maximizes pilot readiness without breaking the bank. A critical consideration for a nation facing ongoing economic challenges. How many? How soon? So what are we hearing about the numbers and the timeline? Defense magazines in Karachi have been quoting figures like 12 firm plus 24 options. This suggests an initial core squadron, with the flexibility to expand significantly if the program proves successful and budgets allow. Adding fuel to the fire, Chinese export paperwork reportedly shows a batch of AI-222 engines, the very same power plants used by the L-15, already cleared through customs, explicitly tagged with Pakistan end user in the last quarter. That's a pretty strong indicator, wouldn't you say? And if you're into aerial detective work, Satellite sleuths have reported spotting tarpaulin-covered twin-tail aircraft at Pakistan Aeronautical Complex, PAC, Kamra. These aircraft look suspiciously like L-15s, which typically feature a distinctive twin-tail configuration, rather than the familiar single, tandem fin design of the JF-17 that PAC Kamra is known for producing. My take? Don't be surprised to see an initial squadron of around 12 trainers operational by 2026. This would establish the foundational training capability. Following that, once the pilot training pipeline starts to get saturated, I'd expect to see follow on orders for more light attack variants. These could then free up more expensive frontline fighters from secondary roles. This initial tranche would give the PAF a crucial 4-year window to not only stand up a full operational conversion unit, OCU, but also establish a dedicated weapons school, perhaps patterned after the highly regarded USAF's Nellis Air Force Base, ensuring their pilots are trained to the absolute highest standards. India's side of the hill. Let's shift our gaze to India and how they're approaching advanced training. The Indian Air Force, IF, currently flies the Hawk Mk-132 for its advanced jet training. It's a capable aircraft, but it's subsonic and primarily designed for training, meaning it typically carries only practice bombs. For actual combat missions, India relies on its formidable fleet of Rafales, Su-30s, and its indigenous Tejas fighters. Now, let's be clear. The L-15 isn't meant to go toe-to-toe with a Rafale in a dogfight. That's not its primary role. However, its introduction by Pakistan could fundamentally alter the strategic board in at least 3 significant ways. First, every additional L-15 that enters service means a JF-17 is freed from its current training role and pushed directly into frontline squadrons. This isn't just a minor reallocation. It directly increases Pakistan's raw combat numbers and the availability of their primary fighter fleet. Second, the L-15's impressive 550-kilometer combat radius, combined with its ability to carry a targeting pod, allows it to loiter over contested areas like Kashmir or the Thar Desert. It can act as a remarkably cheap yet effective stand-in reconnaissance platform, providing valuable intelligence and surveillance without risking more expensive, high-end assets. Third, and perhaps most importantly, if Pakistan fields 24 or more of these light attack Falcons, India would be compelled to dedicate at least 1, if not more, squadrons of its own frontline fighters to counter them. This becomes an incredibly expensive and resource-intensive game of whack-a-mole. Why? Because you can't ignore a capable armed aircraft even if it's just a trainer. India's likely riposte to this strategic move would be multi-pronged. They'd probably accelerate the development of their indigenous HLFT-42 supersonic trainer to match or exceed the L-15's capabilities. Simultaneously, they'd likely pressure the US for more F-414 engines, vital for keeping their Tejas production lines humming and potentially upgrading existing fleets. It's a ripple effect across the entire region's air power strategy. The China angle. Let's talk about China, because this isn't just a simple aircraft sale. It's a strategic play. Beijing isn't in the business of giving away hardware for free. They're in the business of selling influence. Exporting the L-15 to Pakistan deepens an already robust military relationship and, crucially, increases Pakistan's reliance on Chinese data links, Chinese missiles, and Chinese spares. This creates a powerful ecosystem that locks Pakistan further into China's defense industrial base. But there's more to it than just Pakistan. This deal effectively advertises the Falcon to the rest of the Muslim world. Think about it. Countries like Indonesia, Bangladesh, and even some Gulf states are constantly looking for affordable, yet capable, supersonic trainers or light attack aircraft. If Pakistan, a key ally, successfully integrates and operates the L-15, it acts as a powerful endorsement. Every new customer for the L-15 means a further dilution of Western leverage in the global arms market and chips away at the US-led arms embargo narrative. And here's a particularly clever, if cynical aspect. The L-15's engines are Ukrainian. With the ongoing conflict, supply lines from Kiev could become increasingly precarious. China, being pragmatic, is quietly stockpiling spares for these engines, routing L-15s and, by extension, their Ukrainian engines through Pakistan potentially gives Beijing a backdoor buffer, a way to secure critical components even if direct supply from Ukraine becomes impossible. It's smart, it's undeniably cynical, and it's very much a Chinese strategic move. What the West thinks. So, how is this perceived in Washington and European capitals? Well, if you look at the State Department's leaked briefing slides, they've characterized China's arms sales to Pakistan as rapid, risk-tolerant, and relationship-driven. Translation: Washington views the L-15 deal as another domino falling, another piece in a larger puzzle that strengthens Beijing's influence. U.S. lawmakers are already known to grumble about Pakistan's perceived double game when it comes to regional issues, particularly Afghanistan. The L-15 acquisition, even if just a trainer, will only add to those concerns about Pakistan's deepening alignment with China. However, the Pentagon, always thinking strategically, also understands a critical truth. Pushing Islamabad too hard, or alienating them completely, would only accelerate their pivot deeper into Beijing's arms. This would result in the irreversible loss of crucial basing options and vital intelligence flows that benefit U.S. counterterrorism efforts in the region. So what's the net result of this complex balancing act? We're likely to see no new F-16 sales to Pakistan, a clear signal of displeasure. But on the other hand, the U.S. might quietly approve spares like AMRAAM-D components to keep existing F-16s, Vipers, flying. It's a delicate dance aimed at maintaining some influence without pushing Pakistan entirely away. Meanwhile, European aerospace vendors aren't sitting idly by. They're actively dangling their own advanced jet trainers like the Italian M346 to India. Their hope? To sell 40 or more airframes and reclaim some of the market share they've lost to both the US and China in recent years. It's a clear indication that everyone from Washington to Beijing to European capitals is hedging their bets and playing a complex geopolitical game. Inside the cockpit, let's put you right there in the pilot's seat. Imagine you're a 26-year-old PAF flying officer, a sharp, eager aviator stepping into the L-15 for the very first time. The cockpit immediately feels familiar yet advanced. The seat is reclined at a comfortable 18 degrees, much like an F-16, designed to better withstand high G-forces during aggressive maneuvers. You flip the battery switch and instantly, 3 vibrant color MFDs bloom to life. The left one displays radar information, the center acts as a repeater for your head-up display, HUD, and the right shows critical engine instruments and systems data. The controls are intuitive. The HOTAS, hands-on throttle and stick, has the same switchology, the layout and function of buttons and toggles, as the J10CE. This is crucial because it means your muscle memory, painstakingly developed over countless hours, transfers directly. There's no awkward relearning, just seamless transition. You taxi out, get clearance, and push the throttles forward. On takeoff, the twin afterburners ignite with a powerful roar at 90% RPM. The acceleration is exhilarating. You're airborne in a mere 8 seconds and climbing rapidly at 150 meters per second. At 25,000 feet, you roll inverted, pull a tight 7G turn, and the sophisticated fly-by-wire system deftly keeps the nose from slicing, maintaining precise control. Then the magic of modern training kicks in. Your instructor, sitting calmly in the rear cockpit, taps a button on their console. Instantly, the embedded simulation system injects a virtual adversary, say a simulated Su-30, 40 kilometers out. This isn't just a dot on a screen. It's a realistic, dynamic threat. Without hesitation, you ripple-fire a notional PL-12 missile, a simulated beyond visual range shot, and the system confirms a kill. Mission accomplished. But the sortie isn't over. You then dive aggressively to 500 feet, switching roles, and ripple 250 kilo simulated bombs onto a hillside target. 1 sortie, 3 critical skill sets honed: fundamental flight training, beyond visual range combat, and precision ground strike. This is the kind of high-fidelity, multi-role repetition that transforms talented cadets into truly lethal combat pilots, ready for the complexities of modern air warfare. Dollars and cents. Let's talk brass tacks, the economics. What does it really cost to bring a modern trainer like the L-15 into service? For a package including 12 L-15 airframes, a comprehensive ground-based training system, and 3 years of essential logistics support, we're talking a ballpark figure of roughly US $180 million. That's a significant investment, no doubt. But let's put that into perspective. For comparison, acquiring 12 used F-16A MLUs, midlife upgrade, would likely set you back around $300 million. And that's before you even factor in the cost of any further midlife upgrades that would inevitably be needed. And critically, those F-16s, while potent, burn significantly more fuel per flight hour. The L-15, being purpose-built as a trainer, is designed for efficiency. It reportedly burns about 2,300 liters of fuel per typical training sortie. Contrast that with a Block 52 F-16, which guzzles around 2,100 liters for a similar mission profile. Over the course of a year, with a typical operational tempo of, say, 300 sorties per aircraft, that's an annual fuel saving of approximately $1.2 million per airframe. Multiply that by 12 jets, and the Pakistan Air Force could potentially recoup the entire purchase price of the L-15 fleet in fuel savings alone before the decade is out. In an era where Pakistan is grappling with a staggering 40% rupee inflation, and its defense budget, while increased, is still under immense pressure, that kind of fiscal efficiency isn't just a bonus, it's an absolute necessity. The L-15 isn't just a capable trainer, it's a shrewd financial investment. Are you enjoying this deep dive into the world of military aviation and geopolitical strategy? Don't miss out on our next episode. Hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you're instantly notified when we drop our next analysis, perhaps on Pakistan's rumored J-35 stealth fighter deal. And we want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell us whether you think the L-15 is simply a bargain trainer, or if it's a hidden light attack gem in the making. Your insights fuel our discussions. The elephant in the room, stealth. Sometimes, in the flurry of defense news, analysts tend to lump the L-15 in with the exciting rumors surrounding Pakistan's potential acquisition of the J-35 stealth fighter. But let's be absolutely clear, that's like comparing apples to stealth oranges. They operate in entirely different realms. The L-15, while modern, has a radar cross-section, RCS, of roughly 2 square meters. That's manageable, especially with the use of external jamming pods for self-protection. But it's nowhere near the minuscule RCS of a true 5th-generation stealth aircraft. This jet isn't designed to be invisible. What it does excel at, however, is preparing pilots for the complex demands of 5th-generation warfare. It trains them in critical concepts like sensor fusion, which is the ability to seamlessly integrate data from multiple onboard and off-board sensors into a single, cohesive picture for the pilot. It familiarizes them with active electronically scanned array, AC, radar systems, which offer superior performance and flexibility. And it gets them accustomed to helmet-mounted cueing systems, allowing pilots to designate targets and weapons simply by looking at them. These are precisely the mental toolkits, the cognitive frameworks, they'll need when they eventually transition to a truly stealthy platform like the J-35. So, think of the L-15 Falcon not as a stealth fighter itself, but as an essential rehearsal studio, preparing the next generation of pilots for the main concert of 5th-generation air combat. Potential stumbling blocks. While the L-15 looks like a game-changer on paper, it's essential to acknowledge that no major defense acquisition is without its potential pitfalls. The most significant risk factor currently looming over the L-15 program involves its Ukrainian-made engines. The AI-222K-25F power plants, while capable, are produced by Ivchenko Progress in Ukraine. If the ongoing conflict in Ukraine were to drag on indefinitely or escalate further, and Kyiv simply couldn't deliver the necessary engines or spare parts, that would be a major problem. China does have a domestic alternative in development, the Guizhou WS-17 engine. However, experts suggest that it would need another 18 months or more to reach the level of maturity and export reliability required for a critical platform like the L-15. That kind of delay could severely impact the program's timeline and overall effectiveness. Another point of concern is the L-15's mean time between overhauls, MTBO, which is reportedly around 1,000 flight hours. This is roughly half that of comparable Western trainers. What does this mean in practical terms? Pakistani engineers and maintenance crews would have to open up the hot sections of these engines twice as often. This would place significant stress on an already potentially thin technical workforce, requiring more specialized training, more man-hours, and potentially more downtime for the aircraft. It's a logistical challenge that can't be underestimated. Finally, there's the geopolitical leverage game. India, ever vigilant, could potentially leverage its considerable clout at international financial bodies, specifically the Financial Action Task Force, FATF. If Pakistan were to find itself on a gray or black list, it could complicate Islamabad's access to dollar-denominated parts and transactions, creating financial friction for aircraft maintenance and future acquisitions. While none of these hurdles are necessarily fatal on their own, each one adds a layer of complexity and friction to the L15 acquisition and integration process, requiring careful management and strategic foresight. The network effect. This is where the L15 truly starts to shine in a strategic context. Extending beyond its role as a mere trainer, Pakistan's Integrated Air Defense System, IADS, isn't just a collection of radars and missile batteries. It's a sophisticated, interconnected web, largely stitched together with Chinese fiber optics and compatible systems. This means that assets like the KLJ-7A radars on the JF-17s, the J-10CEs, and now potentially the L-15s, all speak the same digital language. Imagine this: a flight of 4 L-15s, equipped with their own advanced arrays, isn't just flying around. They can act as forward sensors, pushing real-time data back to Central Command. This information can then be fed directly to HQ-9 surface-to-air missile batteries or even to J-10CE interceptors operating further back. In exercises conducted just last year, this network effect proved devastatingly effective. PL-15 missiles, launched from Pakistani fighters, reportedly scored kills at distances of 140 kilometers or more. How? Because the launch aircraft received crucial mid-course updates from off-board radars, extending their effective range and accuracy. Now, add a dozen or more L-15s, each contributing its active array data, and you significantly thicken that sensor web. This creates a much more robust and resilient air picture, making it incredibly difficult for any adversary to penetrate undetected. For Indian strike aircraft, this means they would be forced to fly lower, burn more fuel in evasive maneuvers, and potentially carry fewer weapons to compensate for the increased fuel burn and threat environment. The L-15, therefore, isn't just a training platform. It's a force multiplier that enhances the overall situational awareness and lethality of Pakistan's entire air defense network. Export fallout. The L-15 deal, if confirmed, has implications that stretch far beyond Pakistan's borders. Consider Bangladesh, for instance. They already operate 7 K-8W trainers, also from China, and they're actively shopping for a supersonic step-up to modernize their own Air Force training. If Islamabad successfully integrates the L-15 and publicly sings its praises, Dhaka could very well follow suit. This isn't just about another sale. It could lead to the creation of a common training syllabus across South Asian skies, primarily leveraging Chinese-made platforms. For China, this commonality is a goldmine. It significantly reduces their logistics burden for supporting these aircraft across multiple customers and, more importantly, strengthens a Beijing-friendly bloc in a strategically vital region. From Washington's perspective, this is precisely the nightmare scenario they've been trying to prevent. A growing network of Chinese trainers and combat aircraft, stretching from Rawalpindi in Pakistan all the way to Cox's Bazar in Bangladesh, all speaking the same tactical dialect, all integrated into a Chinese-centric defense ecosystem. It represents a significant erosion of Western influence and a clear shift in regional alliances. Timeline to first flight. Let's project a plausible timeline for this acquisition, based on typical procurement cycles and the current whispers. If formal negotiations conclude successfully, we could expect a contract to be inked by December 2025. This would set the wheels in motion for production and delivery. The first 6 airframes would likely fly out of Nanchang, China, the home of Hongdu Aviation, and arrive at Pak Kamra in Pakistan by mid-2026. This initial batch would be crucial for familiarization and initial training. Soon after, Pakistani crews would embark on conversion training at a facility in Wuhan, China by September 2026, where they would learn the intricacies of operating and maintaining the L-15 Initial Operational Capability, IOC, meaning at least 4 aircraft, are ready and capable of training B-Course pilots, could realistically be declared by March 2027. This marks a critical milestone, signifying the L-15's formal entry into the PAF's training structure. The full squadron strength, typically 12 aircraft, would then be operational by December 2027, providing a robust training capacity. And here's a forward-looking thought. If the J-35 stealth fighter deal for Pakistan eventually materializes, a seamless transition would be paramount. We could expect L-15s to be retrofitted with similar wide-angle HUDs, head-up displays, and helmet-mounted displays, ensuring that pilots walk straight from an L-15 cockpit into a J-35 and feel right at home, minimizing the learning curve for these advanced fifth-generation platforms. Bottom line. Let's cut to the chase. The L-15 by itself isn't going to win a war against India. It's not a frontline stealth fighter or a heavy bomber. But what it will do, quietly and effectively, is multiply the effectiveness of every other high-end platform Pakistan is currently buying or operating. More highly trained pilots mean higher sortie rates, more sophisticated tactics, and ultimately, a more credible deterrent. It elevates the entire Air Force. For China, this is a relatively low-risk sale that delivers high strategic dividends. It locks Pakistan deeper into Beijing's military ecosystem, strengthens their all-weather friendship, and showcases Chinese aerospace technology to a wider international market. It's a win-win for their geopolitical ambitions. For the West, particularly the United States and Europe, it's yet another stark warning. It underscores the uncomfortable truth that arms embargoes and restrictions don't bite as hard when Beijing has shelves full of capable, affordable aircraft like the Falcon, waiting for buyers who are increasingly turning away from traditional Western suppliers. Conclusion. Outro. So is the L-15 a glorified trainer, a simple classroom with wings? Or is it a sneaky game changer, a force multiplier designed to subtly shift the regional balance of power? The truth, as is often the case, is both. On paper, it's an advanced jet trainer designed to hone pilot skills. In practice, however, it's a strategic asset that stretches budgets, seamlessly integrates with frontline fighters, and keeps India guessing about Pakistan's true aerial capabilities. Whether this whispered deal ultimately crosses the finish line depends on a complex interplay of factors. The reliability of those Ukrainian engines, the ever-shifting sands of geopolitics, and the fragile state of Pakistan's rupee. But make no mistake, the wheels of this potential acquisition are already turning. Will the Falcon truly soar over the Indus, transforming Pakistan's air power? Or will red tape, unforeseen obstacles, or shifting priorities clip its wings before it even takes off? Tell us your prediction below. Like and share this video if you learned something new. And remember, in modern air combat, the first edge might be technology, but the lasting edge, the truly decisive factor, is always the pilot in the cockpit. We'll see you next time.